All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You can raise it tonight. Tweet of the night, our GMC tweet of the night. This is from Jared Carabas. Here's a class that Brian Reynolds is in since the start of that 2021 season. These are the guys who hit at least 280, 060 OPS or better. Look at this list, Chris. Acuna Jr., Altuve. I mean, that's a class right there. Harper, Judge, Trout, Reynolds in that group. If you go back to 2019, so he was traded. They traded for him in 2018. If you go back to 2019, when he shouldn't even have been here. He was here because of injuries and just stuck around. I think he's third in the National League in RBIs for outfielders. It's amazing.
Productive player, good baseball player, good gesture ultimately by the Pirates to show fans whether he plays that whole deal here or not, whether it's a bargain or not. I don't think it's as much of a bargain for the team as some people might believe. I think that's about what Brian Reynolds probably would warrant. He'd get more in the open market, but I think he's actually worth about $15 million a year. Just a good move. Hey, we say we're going to try to be competitive. This guy is our best player right now, and he's going to be our best player. The thing that should hearten Pirates fans the most, what was the New York Post headline I saw? Now, I didn't see this because Paul Zeiss quote tweeted it into my Twitter timeline, Richie. It was just, Yankees trade option off the table as Reynolds signs $106 million extension with Pirates. That's the kind of headline that should make you happy if you're a Pirates fan, that the big boys with the deep pockets say, well, now he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and he wants to be here. And he said it a few times. Said it in spring training, said it again today. He's the one that made this deal happen. All right, Chris, before we get into the draft, before we take phone calls about the draft, I'm going cornerback in the first round. I've been going back and forth. I think it's between tackle and corner. My gut and, the kind of feeling that I got from being over at the Steelers, that cornerback is the position. And, I'm going to give it away tonight who I think they're going to draft. It's between two guys. I'm going with Deonte Banks from Maryland.
Who's the other guy?
Joey Porter Jr.
I actually disagree with you. I think it's going to be an offensive tackle. I want, in my perfect world, them to draft Broderick Jones for him to slide to them. I think they would have to trade up to get him. I think he's going to go anywhere between 3 and 6 spots ahead of where they pick Richie. So they'd have to trade up to get him. I don't think they want to do that. My pick is going to be Darnell Wright from Tennessee, that they try to plug and play him over on the right side. And I think the sneaky thing that ends up happening is Chooks finds himself kind of a man with no spot. Remember, his deal was really just a one-year kind of deal. It was structured where there wasn't a ton of long-term liability for them in terms of dead cap. I think they end up drafting Darnell Wright and try to make it work with one more season of improvement from Dan Moore Jr.
Paris Johnson would be intriguing if he slipped to 17. I don't think that's going to happen. But here's my reasoning for cornerback, too. There's a couple tackles that will be available, should be available with that 32nd pick or maybe in the beginning of that second round. A guy like DeJuan Jones, the other Ohio State tackle.
Stop right there.
And a guy like
My
Anton
guy, Donnie
Harrison.
Football. My guy, Donnie Football, had his first big scoop. He had what he called a very trusted source tell him the Steelers will not be drafting DeJuan Jones. Tomlin hates him, can't stand him, doesn't think he can. Maybe doesn't hate him as a person, but hates him as a potential pick. Doesn't think he's good enough, basically. Doesn't think that the footwork or the technique's there, that he's too big to be effective in the NFL. That is a Donnie Football scoop that I am putting out here on the Nightly Sports Call. So here's a quick scenario I wouldn't be opposed to, mainly because I think most fans always believe in their team when the team trades down. If there's anybody after the Steelers, if all the tackles they like are gone, and there's anybody after them that's trying to move up, maybe there's a quarterback who slides or something, I wouldn't be opposed to the Steelers trading down towards the end of the first round and nabbing Harrison, who is a pure left tackle from Oklahoma. Maybe he's a step down from the rest of these guys, but you nab him at like 28, 29, somewhere in there, and then get a couple extra picks maybe for that 13 or 10 or 11 spot jump, that would not be a bad thing for Omar Khan.
Yeah, it wouldn't. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Bill on Pittsburgh. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, guys. How you doing? I was hoping the Steelers were going to trade up with Chicago and be in that number 9 slot and take Jalen Carter. I want that guy from Georgia.
He's gone, I think, by then. I think Seattle's going to take him, man. I really do. I think he is. I think Pete Carroll views himself as a guy that can get through to those types of players with some maturity questions, the same way Mike Tomlin feels he can as well and has a reputation for doing. I'll be very surprised if Jalen Carter lasts past 5, and I'll actually be shocked if Jalen Carter does go past 5 if the Lions don't snap him up at 6.
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be the top guy in this year's class. He got into his off-the-field issues, but, if you think he's over that and is mature enough now and, maybe it's worth going up. I mean, you've done all these interviews and you've done all these evaluations that, potentially if he is the best player and you can get him at 9, maybe you look into it. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see the Steelers moving up. I potentially could see the Steelers moving back there and at 32 for sure. I do not see the Steelers. A lot of people are out there speculating that the Steelers are going to try to use that 32nd pick to move up in the first round. I don't think that. Tomlin is in love with having that break and wanting to entertain moving back in the second round. That's what I took from that press conference. I was there. I don't think that 32nd pick is going anywhere until the second day.
Well, I think that they really find it appealing that they have an entire overnight for teams to be talking to them about that pick, and they could really get a bidding war going for it. Again, particularly if there is a surprise slide from one of the quarterbacks. I think that's the situation you want. If somehow one of the top 5 quarterbacks drops out of the first, or top 4 guys drops out of the first round, then that becomes incredibly enticing. Even, Richie, I think, and this might seem crazy, Hendon Hooker, depending on who you talk to, the guy from Tennessee, is going to be a first-round pick or is wildly overrated, a system product. But if he isn't picked in the first round, I do think there will be some enterprising teams who didn't take a quarterback but need one, who sniff around calling the Steelers and seeing what they want for that 32nd pick, maybe to take a guy like Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I don't think Richardson falls out of the first round, but I agree with you, Hooker.
Richardson should be the first overall pick, Richie.
You
the
think
Carolina
so?
Panthers spent all that capital to move up. They should be taking the home run swing on the guy built like Cam Newton but faster and possibly with a better arm. They're not going to do it. They should take Anthony Richardson first overall. That is one of my pet peeve takes out here. They're not even considering it, but they should do it.
Would you be shocked if they did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think Bryce Young is basically already written in ink. The guy is shorter than me by an inch and a half. I don't care what kind of a playmaker he is. He's going to be a historically small player at the position in sleight of frame. Hits in the NFL are real. I'm sorry to report. I don't care what kind of a magic maker he is when he gets the ball. Like if a Cam Hayward-sized guy gets a clean shot on Bryce Young over the course of a season, what's that going to do to the guy? We
saw it with Tua. We saw it with Kyler Murray. We'll see what happens with Bryce Young. Let's go out to Nick in Ohio. How you doing, Nick?
Good. I got 2 quick questions, not related to the draft. First of all, are the Steelers getting a bargain with Allen Robinson, or is that what they just got what they pay for? Second question, should Kenny Pickett be drooling over the prospect of making the kind of money that Jalen Hurts makes, or do the Steelers ever go for that lucrative deal?
You know what? The one good thing that the Steelers are in a position right now where they don't have to pay a quarterback. That'll be a couple years away. So they can use that money elsewhere, which is a good thing. And they even referenced that during when we talked to him on Monday. As for Allen Robinson, I think it's a good deal. 29 years old. He can help this team. He's a solid third down guy, I think, that can catch the ball, something that they need. He can play the slot. He can play outside. But I do think, Chris, and you might disagree with me here, I do think that they will take a wide receiver some point between 2 and 4.
I think definitely one by pick 120 and probably one by pick 80. And if Tennessee's Cedric Tillman is still lurking around at 80, I think they'd be crazy not to seriously consider taking him or just straight take him. To answer Nick's first question, I won't go with the Pickett answer. I thought that was fine by you there, Richie. I think Allen Robinson, my gut tells me that he is closer to they got or they're getting what they paid for rather than some sort of big bargain that's going to make the Rams look foolish in a couple of months.
Yeah, $5 million, that's the kind of player I think he is. A Jericho Cotchery type player. Is that kind of reminded me of this?
Jericho Cotchery Jericho Cotchery caught 10 touchdowns that one year. If Allen Robinson catches 10 touchdowns this season, I think people are going to be extremely happy with the $5 million price tag and the 17 spots in the 7th round. I think Jericho Cotchery type player, the good year Cotchery had, is the best case scenario, Richie, for Allen Robinson anymore.
Hey, would you be surprised if they went maybe with their 49th pick and took a receiver? You think that's too early? Do they have too many? Like Mozzie Smith would be a guy in the second round that might be there?
No, it's a need. No, it's a real need. You were going to say, do they have too many needs elsewhere? No, wide receiver is a real need, even with Robinson in the fold. What I don't want them to do is look at, we traded for Allen Robinson. That really takes, like they all alluded to it.
Yeah.
Tomlin said, we don't have a glaring weakness. They still need playmakers there. If there's a guy they really have rated highly at 49 at wide receiver, they should take him. The big misconception is that they just pluck these guys out of the sky in the 5th and 6th rounds. They did that once with Antonio Brown. Usually their good non-first round wideouts are 2nd, 3rd, and once in a while 4th round guys.
Yeah, the Allen Robinson, and another good analogy would be Patrick Peterson. 2 positions of need. They signed some veterans, but they're still going to draft those guys this weekend. All right, we got to take a break. Back in a couple minutes.